good morning. So today we are at the Botanical Gardens. I am Lily and this is Heather in our Conservation Department. We're with San Antonio Water System. Once again, we are doing a simultaneous live broadcast on both Periscope and Facebook, so thank you guys very much for joining us. We're going to be taking you through a little DIY tutorial on how to create your own container garden. However, we have some stuff that we brought to show you how you maybe can avoid some of the mistakes some of us have made. In this case, myself, I'm the one that brought my failed container garden plant to get some advice from our expert. And then we're going to show you how to create one. So we hope you guys enjoy it. Before we get into the project, I want to remind you all to please share this broadcast. On Periscope, you can swipe and you can share that out. On Facebook Live, I think you can also have a share option. Give us hearts or send us some comments if you like the topic, or if this is right in line with what you want to see, or you want to see something else, please let us know. All right, Heather, so let's start talking about succulents. Oh, and by the way, so this was our version of it's raining. It's been raining nonstop in San Antonio, which is very unusual for us.
But awesome.
It is. It's great. It's great for our aquifer, great in general. However, most of us that like to garden can't really get out in there and start doing some serious gardening because it's too wet, too muddy.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you want to do an indoor project, this might be a good option. This was an indoor project for me in a previous rainy season, and as you can see, and maybe we can get our cameras to come a little bit closer to start looking at our plants here. This particular planter I created pretty much the way we're going to create this one first, except as you can see, only some of my plants survived. This one just about died out and it's fairly coming back. These two seem very happy, but my other plants have either all spread out their leaves or have just completely disappeared. So tell me, what could I have done differently with this project, and what do you think? How do I fix it?
Sure, well, definitely this can be fixed and revived. I like to tell clients when they say that they killed their succulent planter that they're too nurturing. You are probably very nurturing, so I'm willing to bet that you watered it too much. And then the other thing that's really important is when I lift this up, there's no drainage hole. So succulents need drainage, sharp drainage. So if you do have a beautiful container like this that you just absolutely can't envision anything else in but succulents, sure, you can cheat it, you can risk it, but know that you're always going to risk overwatering it. Your plants you may lose some plants. But Lily, why don't you share that cool thing that you had read about the measuring cup, because I think that's a fabulous idea.
So in researching what it is I did to my plants before I had your knowledge available, it actually suggested that when you use a container garden without drainage, that you water it using a measuring cup, so that it is only a set specific amount of water. And you do it on a regular schedule. So if it makes sense this is indoors for me, so if it makes sense to do it every 10 to 13 days, to mark it on your calendar and throw in half a cup of water or whatever it is that would be appropriate for the size container that you have.
I love that idea. I love the idea of the regular schedule, measuring the water, because it is easy to dump too much, and when you dump too much, what are you going to do? It's, so but we get in the habit, that might be a good schedule for like a house plant. This, try 2 months, maybe more.
Wow.
2 months, maybe more. And maybe
I definitely overwatered
an eighth of a cup.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's how we learn. That's the best part about gardening for me, is that you learn as you go. Sometimes you make the same mistakes a couple of times, but once you learn, you're good, and you can share it with someone else. So we will save these plants. We can reuse these plants and give it a new life.
This little one here looks like it's trying to root, like where it fell over. Does that look like it might still be savable, or is that pretty much gone?
We can certainly try. And again, all these little guys you can keep. And if you want to try to have them to grow roots and grow into a new plant, save your little 4-inch pots from the nursery that have good drainage. pop them in there and see if they root, and keep them in your collection, and do new ones as you wish. The other thing is, where did you have this in your home? How bright light did you have? Where was it?
Sure. So this is on my dining room table, right by the window that gets the most light. It gets mostly morning and midday light. By the afternoon, it's not getting very bright light.
So let's give it another chance and try it again. And if that doesn't work for you, then put it closer to the window, more light.
More light.
See how that works.
So for those of you that maybe are just joining us, I'm Lily with San Antonio Water System. This is Heather in our conservation department. We are at the San Antonio Botanical Gardens, and we're talking to you guys about succulent containers, a good rainy day indoor project. If we can't get out into the garden like many of us would prefer to be doing, we can certainly garden indoors. And we were just talking about my ill-fated, overwatered succulent container previously. So now we kind of know what's wrong. Heather's given me some good advice, and now we're going to take you through creating your own, and then we can come back and revisit with this one.
Sounds great.
Cool. All right, so
sounds
I'll
great.
move this a little bit out of the way.
So pick a pot that you like.
It's got drainage.
With the drainage hole. Very important. The other thing I love about this pot that Liliana picked out, besides the fact that it's really cute, is that it's porous. So that will also help to get rid of excess moisture.
So a clay pot, for instance,
Clay
would be
pot.
a really good option.
Excellent
versus
choice.
this glazed pot that doesn't let the water out.
Yep. It is pretty though. You know, can I just say, what I would recommend for that is recycling your succulents, putting it in a more appropriate pot, and then if you love that pot and you want something alive and that's what you want, put some glass mulch in there and put a couple air plants in there.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then you don't have to water them. And you can just take them and spray them with a water bottle every once in a while and put them back in. And I think that might be a better choice for you.
Yes.
Possibly.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so pot, done. Sometimes what you can do is you can take an old sheet or a piece of weed fabric.
A coffee filter?
A coffee filter, and put it in the bottom. So that if you have it in a spot that you don't want staining on your deck or flagstone or whatever, you can put it over the hole. But you want to make sure that when you run water that the water comes out. Okay,
Just trying to keep the dirt in but the water out.
Dirt in, water out. Some people say that they like to put rocks in the bottom of their plant pots. Research shows that that's not a good idea, good practice. Just good mix.
Now let's talk about this dirt we have in here.
Quick question.
Oh yes.
I think this is kind of more of a general question.
Sure.
But like, will all the rain hurt all the xeriscape plants out there?
Well, if you planted Texas natives, you're probably in good shape, and you should be good because they're native plants. They're used to those rains and then the dry periods, so you're probably good. But you know what? It might hurt some of them. Some of them might suffer for a little bit. Some of the Texas sages might start to drop their leaves and stuff like that because they do not like that extra water. Plants are not furniture. Plants are alive, okay? They go through natural processes to help them be survivors. Just give it time. They'll come back.
All right, so we were talking about this dirt. This was considered cactus or succulent dirt. I bought it at just a general big box store, so I know everybody can get it. I know they probably have much better options at our local nurseries. However, just in making sure that's an option, tell us, what is it that makes this dirt ideal for these types of planting conditions?
Well, I'm guessing that it's probably slightly acidic, and most importantly, above all things, it's got sharp drainage. It's got sand, and it's not going to hold on to the moisture for long. That's the most important thing about this soil. For myself at home, I just buy, I have a favorite brand that I do like that's local to Austin. It's a potting soil, and I mix at 3/4 of soil to 1/4 decomposed granite because the plants that I like to plant like sharp drainage. So that's what I do at home, and it's a little less expensive. So play around with the level of the soil. Some of these have quite a bit of soil in the pots, so I'm just going to put about half, I guess. And the cool thing about succulents is you can really make them go a long way. Like this could do a few different ones. If you wanted to make a few gifts for your friends, you could have a few different pots and make lovely gifts. So it's real easy to separate them.
If you want to give me
Thank you. And there's little babies that are going to start to grow. So you really do get a lot for your money with succulents.
And I know that some of them seem, I mean, they seem a little delicate, like they start to drop leaves, but sometimes that's a good thing, right? Because that means they'll just grow somewhere else.
Absolutely. It'll
Like
make
that
a new little baby.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, plants are not furniture, so you might make a succulent planter today that you love for quite a while, but you might want to revamp it in a few months to a year, depending on how fast it grows, and divide and make more succulent planters.
And how fast do they grow? Is this something that I'm going to be able to keep in this container for a few years, or do I need to plan for a bigger container after a set amount of time? What do you think?
That's a really good question, and it really depends because
On the type?
there's so many different varieties. It's really about you and whether you still like the look and whether you want to create another one, just whenever you get to it. They're very forgiving. So you could put some taller ones in the back, some other ones kind of flopping over the side. This one's cute. This one is going to trail. This is a real cute one. It's called Senecio radicans glauca. I have this one in a hanging planter that's in mostly shade on my covered patio, and it's probably about 2.5 feet long.
Wow.
So you see, when this starts to cascade too long for this planter, then you may want to take it out, put it in a nice hanging basket, and repurpose it somewhere else.
True.
So that's the cool thing.
Or you can just keep trimming it and then create new baskets.
Absolutely. So this one's going to cascade way over the side, so I think that might look pretty there. Does anybody else out there have experience with succulents that they want to share? Any little tricks and tips?
Well, and one of the things that you just said, that the one you have is primarily in a shaded area, maybe bright light but shade. But some of these might want, basically what I'm asking is, did I pick the wrong types of succulents to put in the same container?
Good question. No, you did not.
Okay.
They all have similar needs. People think that because on the nursery tag, if it doesn't just say succulent and there's actually, says which variety it is, full sun, not in Texas.
Yeah.
Not in Texas. And again, let me just say, we are talking about a very specific group of succulents today. The cute little ones, most of which are South African or out of California, that will not take a hard freeze. These are for cute little container gardens, for your porch, in your house, that kind of thing. Most of these, well, maybe all of these particular ones except for the hen and chicks, they don't want to be in the ground outside.
Okay.
And if you did put them in, just know that you'll lose them if we have a hard freeze.
So they're more like annuals instead of perennials if we put them outside.
Yep. So, or bring them in the wintertime.
Okay.
And save them, because it's expensive.
Yeah.
It adds up.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? Oh yeah. So in Texas, if full sun succulent, if it says on the tag full sun, no, not in South Central Texas. If you put any of these in the full sun and they get afternoon sun, they will burn, sunburn.
So I really managed to do the two worst wrong things I could possibly do with my indoor one, because I have a similar planter outdoors that does have better drainage because it's outdoors. But I did put it in the sun, and most of those plants died.
They died.
And then with my indoor one, it's got good light, but horrible drainage. So we'll see, learn from Lily's mistakes.
Learn from, all of us make mistakes. I was at a SAWS conservation consultation the other day, and the homeowner made this beautiful outdoor succulent container garden. It was absolutely stunning, and it looked lovely, and everything was great, and it was up against the side of the house that was getting direct sun. They were fine now, though, because it's spring,
Yeah, but come summer, that'll be a different story.
You're going to want to move those and protect that investment, because they will burn up.
Do we have a
Excuse
question?
my reach.
Will these succulents do on the ground or just containers?
Again, a few things to consider. These ones, personally, no, I would not put in the ground unless I was somewhere like this gorgeous San Antonio Botanical Gardens where they have a big staff to protect stuff, to trim stuff, to take awesome care of it all the time. You know, they have succulent walls here that are gorgeous. Personally, I wouldn't put any of these in the ground because, well, maybe this one here, because I think this one here is cold hardy, but personally, I would never put anything in the ground at my home that wasn't cold hardy or a native, usually, because to me, I don't want to invest money on a gorgeous plant that I'm going to just lose. So I would put it in a container and move it in the wintertime. And then again, most of these, depending, like if you have a location that they would favor that gets afternoon sun relief, the conditions are right, yeah, sure, pop them in the ground, and some of them might do awesome and you might lose some. It's all about willing to try new things. This is Blue Elf Aloe. This is super cute. Ann Hayden, the communications manager, she brought these from home for us today, and they're super cute. Hi, y'all. San Antonio Botanical Gardens open for business, y'all. Come on down. And you know what? You can't do it wrong. So don't worry so much about second guessing yourself. Because guess what? If you set this up and then you're looking at it and you don't like something, you can always change it. I am by no means a professional succulent arranger.
Well, I think ultimately it comes down to what's pleasing to you, right?
Yeah.
If you like the way it looks. I know a lot of times with most design rules, things tend to be more about, you know, odd numbers, 3s and 5s and whatever that may be. But I think ultimately it's whatever works in your container and whatever looks pretty to you.
Absolutely. You want to fill it. I like to fill it up nice and tight and put some babies in that'll grow later, dot it with some babies, and then have something to cascade over the side is always pleasing. And I don't want to do any more of that one because I don't want to sever that one. So back to Lily's question. Y'all, we're here at San Antonio Botanical Gardens. I'm Heather Ginsburg from the Conservation Department. I'm here with Lily from Communications. And we are doing succulent planters. One of Lily's original questions was a really good one, making sure that you have plants that have similar needs in the same container. So important. You'll notice that I neglected to put the hen and chick in this container. I neglected to put the hen and chick in this container because this would do awesome outside. Awesome outside. I'm going to put this little baby kalanchoe in here. I love this one. I call it a flapjack kalanchoe. I think some people call it pancake plant or paddle plant, all kinds of things.
And then can we put some of that rock on the top, sort of just, is it okay to do that to cover it, or bark, or other moss, or other things to make it more aesthetically pleasing?
Yeah, I think that would be gorgeous. I personally like to use inorganic stuff on the top, rocks, glass beads, crushed glass. One time I went to the dollar store and I bought tons of packs of marbles. I thought that was funky and cool, and I used marbles. I don't recommend anything that's going to hold moisture. So we need to tell Ann, the lovely communications manager, that because she keeps her succulent planter outside, this happens. It's full of cedar elm leaves, it looks like, and just, well, I don't want to throw those in the botanical garden, but take them out every once in a while, because look at them, guys. They're holding a lot of moisture. You don't want anything to hold a lot of moisture around your succulents. So inorganic mulch, like these cute little rocks or glass beads, anything like that.
I'm going to help you because I know those gloves are a little cumbersome.
They are.
So I'm going to help you put some here at the top of these.
I probably, in retrospect, put a little too much dirt in. But when we water it, it'll settle down.
Now these, is it okay that these are kind of hanging off the edge a little bit? That's okay? They won't fall off?
Yeah, it's
okay.
fine.
Okay, cool. Do we have any other questions? Anything else we can help people understand about succulent containers? To give you guys an idea of cost, I was able to purchase all the materials, and we can probably make a couple of pots. You can also repurpose some things you might have at home. But I was able to purchase everything for under $40. I did see some really pretty ones that were already made, but they weren't in great condition. Either they were being overwatered, or maybe, I don't know if maybe some of the plants were just a little neglected. I'm not sure. So
Sure.
they were about the same price, and in this instance, I got to pick the type of plants I wanted together instead of just getting what they had already put together.
Oh, that's awesome. One thing probably to mention is the reason why
These are indoor pots, correct?
Indoors, yes. So these are indoor pots. I did pick up a variety that could be indoors. This is the chicks and hen, but it would do better outdoors. So that's why we didn't add it to this particular pot. I actually had added it to this one, and it was my very first pot plant to die in this one. Obviously does not like this kind of wet, this is what had happened here. Didn't like the wet there. And so Heather is giving me some really good information that I'm hoping that I can put to good use.
remember, this pot could also be used outside on your patio. So, you know, we don't, in the Sauce Conservation Department, we don't do container gardening because we are all about changing your landscape to save water. Containers oftentimes take daily water if you have a bunch of annuals in it, you know, that kind of thing. So succulent planters don't take that much water, so they're a really good choice for your patio. You don't have to water them very often. You shouldn't water them very often. You can go away on vacation and they'll do just fine. It's a better water-saving choice than a big old pot of annuals. I mean, annuals are pretty, but hey, you know what? So's this.
Yeah. And if we're going to do annuals, or actually we probably should just be doing perennials with natives that help conserve water in our landscapes.
Absolutely.
Can you propagate these?
Oh, easy.
So these can be propagated, and I was asking Heather, because one of the things in transporting these, both from the store to the house and then the house to the office and the office to Botanical Gardens, we lost a few leaves on a couple of these, and I said, I'm kind of sad, but I'm kind of excited, because doesn't that mean I can grow other plants from there?
You bet.
So will most of them propagate just how do I do that?
Most of them will propagate under the right conditions. So what I would do is take a cutting and not probably plant it right away. Let it I say scab over. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but let it dry. Put it in your garage in a box in complete shade. Let it sit in there for a week, something like that, and then create your project.
And then would I just lay it on top of the dirt and let it sort of grow its own little roots, or do I need to actually put it into the ground? How does that work?
Actually, either way would work, but you know, at that point, after it's healed over its little wound, I would plant it in the ground. I have done that, or in a pot, depending on what kind of succulent, because remember, y'all, there's a lot of landscape succulents out there. Today we're talking about the cute little ones that you can create arrangements in pots. Now, I would put the blue elf in the landscape probably here.
This one maybe.
And maybe this one. But probably not. I'd probably stick with those succulents that are native, like prickly pear cactus and agave and Lindheimer's nolina and red yucca and those kind of things for the landscape. Today we're doing aloe. This is blue elf aloe is a really good choice and actually pretty tough. I really didn't think that this was going to be reliably hardy, and probably isn't if we get a crazy freeze, but I see this all over town thriving. In particular at the UT Health Science Center, they have a lot of this at their entrance sign, and I spoke to the head of that department there, and they have been very reliable plants for them.
So let's talk a little bit about some of what we're seeing here at the Botanical Gardens. Behind us, there are some, and to your point, this is a manicured space where there's staff that regularly cares for the plants. But could this be replicated at home? And are these hardy, or will these freeze? Tell us a little bit about what we're seeing behind us.
So yes, of course, this could be replicated at home.
Because I see some pretty succulents in there, and I don't know if that's considered a succulent, that lighter green kind of trailing.
That's a red ice plant. That's a really good choice. My neighbor has that in her mailbox, and out at the street it's done very well. The purple heart, another incredible choice, especially in the shade. If we have a real cold winter, it'll go to mush. That's okay, believe me, it'll come back.
And you know what, Heather? I'm seeing here a comment on our Facebook Live from Amanda, who is saying that she's never had luck with these types of plants and she loves them. She might have my problem.
You might be a really nurturing, sweet, nurturing lady, Amanda. So my recommendation would be, if they're in full sun, take them out of the full sun and do not water them too much.
In my case, you recommended that if it's an indoor plant out of full sun, that I might want to water it every 2 months?
2 to 3 months.
Every 2 to 3 months.
Maybe.
and depending on how the drainage is, if it's in a container like this with no drainage, with measured maybe 1/8 of a cup of water.
Yeah.
Every 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, and then of course pay attention to what's going on, because again, plants are not furniture, they're alive. Check it out. Sometimes that might be too much water. Sometimes you might need to give them like every month if it's summer and you have your AC cranking all the time and it's pulling all the moisture out of the air. So you have to kind of really be at one.
I guess that's my challenge with succulents. How do I know when something is wrong? And once I start to spot, so I'll give you an example.
Sure.
This chicks and hen was in this pot. I had a much smaller version of it in this pot, and I was obviously overwatering it, but these were thriving. And this one just started to get a little dark around the bottom. So I'm assuming the bottom leaf started to rot.
Yep.
What would have been the right thing to do then? Pull it out of this pot?
Yep.
Okay, and then once I pull it out of the pot, I kind of have to let it dry for a while before I put it somewhere else. What would be...
I would, or if you were able to get like the little root ball out, then certainly you could plant it in a pot with sharp drainage, you know, right away, and probably put it out on your covered patio or something where it's going to get lots of nice wind and moisture.
So then here's a leaf from one of these plants, and it fell, but as you can see, it's got a little bit different condition. It's starting to look a little wrinkly and weird. Did it fall because it was just the normal, natural time? Like, is that what I'm looking for? It's dropping leaves, or the leaves are getting dark and dry? How do I know when something is wrong, and how do I diagnose what the wrong is with my succulents?
That's a great question. So, you know, sometimes you just gotta guess, to be perfectly honest. So I would say, I think this is some kind of a jade plant. These guys are awesome inside. They don't really even need bright. Drop a leaf or two. Sometimes they might get bumped. I mean, to me, they look totally healthy. Anything that dropped, I would plant more and you know,
kind of let it
fill it up, and keep the ones that are working. In gardening, in general, I always say keep what's working, move what doesn't. You know, you just got to roll with it.
And then I see here, let's talk about some of the other examples here. I see this beautiful planter that they have out here. What are some of the plants in here, and are those good outside, inside? What are your thoughts on these?
I love all of these. Lots of kalanchos, and I think this is called chalk sticks.
Kalancho as well, huh?
I'm sorry, guys. These aren't. I'm not super familiar with these.
Okay.
I shouldn't have said that because I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I think it might be.
We'll figure it out, and we'll add a link to our Facebook post and maybe share it in the Twitter.
Yeah, if anyone out there knows for sure what this is, please post it on the Facebook page. I think this is blue chalk. No, this one here is blue chalk sticks. Most of these guys, great container plantings. I don't presume that the Botanical Gardens here in San Antonio is going to keep these outside over the winter. These are like, yes, if you live in California and you don't get a freeze, yeah, totally, plant this in the ground. If you live here, don't plant it in the ground.
What is this beautiful little trailing thing back here?
This is a sedum.
And it's flowery. Look at that tiny little flower.
This is really, really good nectar source, guys, for butterflies.
Wow.
Sedum is a great choice. If you're planning any kind of a monarch way station at your home to help be a part of this monarch champion city, plant some sedum in your garden.
And so that's okay outdoors?
Yes, this is okay outdoors with some
afternoon,
with the right care and some afternoon shade relief. My favorite sedum for full sun, it's the only one I have found for full sun, is Sedum neo-mexicana. It's beautiful, beautiful yellow flowers. My favorite one for full sun. My favorite ones for shade that I do plant in the ground are Sedum reflexum and Sedum rupestre. The common names for that is blue spruce sedum and Angelina sedum. Those are my favorite hardy sedums for outside.
Okay, so I'm sorry, did we have another question?
And where are we at?
Oh, we're at the San Antonio Botanical Gardens, and that's a great segue, guys. I think we've talked about you know, succulents and container gardens and kind of what to do for long enough. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Before we leave, I want to share with you that actually this weekend is the last weekend you can catch. The San Antonio Botanical Gardens has a beautiful display of sculptures by Jorge Marin. I think it's called Wings, and it is here through June 5th. So please make sure to come visit. Don't miss it. We might want to walk over there and wrap up over there. Let us show you. Let's walk this way and let us show you the wings. You guys, cameras can get ahead of us and go straight up to the wing part.
We're passing some other beautiful succulent containers. Beautiful.
So this is actually one of the many. I think you need to get up there. We need a picture of you with the wings. Jorge Marin. It is Wings. I'm getting close because she's got the microphone. So thank you guys for hanging.
Thanks for joining us.
We hope to see you again next Thursday. Bye-bye.